Good morning. This is call number 2005-44738 in the interest of Juana Castillo. All parties, please raise your right hands to be sworn. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right, ma'am, please state your name and your relationship to the child.
Pasita Villegas. I'm the mother of Joanna Villegas.
All right, sir, your name and your relationship to the child.
George Castillo, father.
All right, counsel, your name and who you represent.
Colstag, I represent George Castillo.
All right, and for the state.
Charday Parker, Your Honor.
And we have a suit for modification of support order, motion to confirm support rearage. We're having a hearing. Do we have any stipulations?
Yes, Your Honor. The parties stipulate that the previous order, the order establishing the parent-child relationship that was signed on January 17th, 2006, that order will be modified and that the new child support amount will be $294. And the child support will start being paid out at $294 beginning June 1st, 2021. The parties also stipulate that as of April 30th, 2021, the current arrears are $35,157.69.
Okay, is that the extent of the stipulations?
Yes, Your Honor, that's the extent of the stipulations.
And so far, Ms. Staggs, is that your stipulations?
Yes, Judge.
And so far, Ms. Villegas, is that your stipulations?
Just what they had told me, yes.
Judge, I don't have a way to cut off my office phones. I apologize.
You don't have a way to do what? I'm sorry.
She said to cut off her office phones, like they might still ring, but I think
That's
I
all
think
right.
she's frozen now.
Yeah, Ms. Staggs. Ms. Villegas, is that are those your agreements so far?
Yeah, for them to for the
No,
294 starting.
294 and the rear is $35,157.69.
Yes.
Okay. And so what are the issues?
Well, the issues are that Mr. Castillo was incarcerated from, I need to know the from 2006
I can give the
2000.
exact
Okay, go
date.
ahead.
So he was incarcerated, Judge, from a period of November 17, 2006 through November 17, 2009. And then he was incarcerated again from July 27, 2014 through September 11, 2019.
Okay.
And Mr. Castillo would like an adjustment in the arrearage amount to account for the time he was incarcerated. And Ms. Villegas is not in agreement to that.
Okay. Regulations. All right, let's proceed.
Your Honor, the state would like to call Peralta Villegas. Ms. Villegas, can you state your full name?
Pasita Villegas Peralta.
Ms. Villegas, why are you not in agreement to giving Mr. Castillo any, to releasing any money for that time that he was incarcerated, for those years he was incarcerated?
Because I don't think it's fair that he wants to just not pay the amount that he owes back pay. Because my daughter at the time, this year, she was still eating, and I still had to provide for her the food, the clothes, the housing, and everything. And I don't think it's fair that he wants to just not be accountable for that money.
Okay, but you do understand that during that time he was in prison.
Yeah, I do understand.
Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness.
All right, Ms. Stagg, do you have any questions?
Yes, Judge, thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Villegas, you're not contesting, you heard the dates that I read to the judge, is that correct?
Yeah, I heard him.
And you're not contesting those time frames that I read to the judge in terms of Mr. Castillo's incarceration, are you?
No.
Okay. So in other words, you agree that he was incarcerated those periods of years that we told the judge, is that correct?
Yeah, he was incarcerated, yeah.
And he obviously wasn't working during those time periods, is that correct?
Well, yeah.
Okay. And he had no way of getting out to help to take care of your daughter's needs that you mentioned, is that correct?
Yeah.
I pass the witness, Judge.
All right, Ms. Parker?
Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness. Your Honor, the state would like to call George Castillo.
All right.
Mr. Castillo, can you state your full name for the record?
Yes, George Louis Castillo Jr.
And Mr. Castillo, you were incarcerated from November 17th, 2006 to November 17th, 2009, correct?
Correct.
And what were you incarcerated for?
I believe it was, I had a family violence charge.
Okay, and when you were incarcerated, had you signed that? You had signed this order before you were incarcerated, correct?
Correct. 2006.
Okay, and did you ever try to contact the child support office or anyone about changing your child support because you were incarcerated?
No.
And do you understand that while you were incarcerated, your daughter still had needs?
Yes, of course.
And you didn't provide for those needs because you were incarcerated, correct?
Exactly. Correct.
And also when you were incarcerated from July 27, 2014 through September 11th, 2019, what were you incarcerated for?
Violation of probation.
And you knew that if you violated probation, you would go back to jail, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that if you went back to jail, you wouldn't be able to take care of your daughter, correct?
Correct. First thing on
But
my mind, yeah.
Okay, but you still violated your probation, correct?
Yes.
And you do understand that while you're incarcerated during that time period, your daughter still had needs such as clothes, food, medicine.
Yes, I was aware of that.
And when you were incarcerated, did you ever try to send Ms. Villegas any money?
There wasn't any way me belonging to the state, there wasn't any way that I was able to work for money to send money.
Okay, and no one put any money in your books?
No. When they could, they would. But for the most part, I supported myself as far as,
Okay, Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness.
All right, Ms. Stagg, any questions for your client?
Judge, the order that the underlying or the order that we're here for was entered in January of 2006, and you were incarcerated in November of 2006. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you have a choice in that incarceration?
No.
I mean, that was not something that you would have wanted to happen. Is that correct?
Oh no, because I was paying I was paying before I got locked, before I got
And,
put in
and when
jail.
and when you got incarcerated the second time based upon a probation violation, was that something that you wanted to happen?
No, ma'am, I was paying as well.
I mean, in other words, you didn't, raise your hand and say, "Judge, put me in prison." That wasn't a election that you made. Is that correct?
That's correct. I didn't have a choice.
And prior to being incarcerated, when the order was put in place in January of 2006, you paid consistently. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid up consistently up until the time that you were incarcerated in November of 2006. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it wasn't until you were incarcerated again in 2014 that the payments for child support stopped. Is that right?
Yes.
And as soon as you got out in September of 2019, you started, or fairly shortly after you got out, you started paying again the child support. Is that correct?
Correct. Coming straight to work. Yes.
So in other words, when you have been quote unquote free, you've paid your child support as ordered by this court. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's been via a withholding order by your employer. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're asking for the court to give you some credit. Is that in any way you not understanding or having sympathy regarding the fact that Ms. Villegas had to care for your child?
Yes. Yes.
And specifically, you're asking that the court give you a credit based upon your first incarceration in the amount of 37 months. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then based upon your second incarceration in the amount of 62 months. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct as well.
And the total combination of those two periods of incarceration would have been a total of 99 months. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
And your child support obligation under the underlying order was $210 a month. Is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
Are you asking for the credit in the total amount of 99 months at a rate of $210 to also include interest? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I pass the witness, Judge.
Your Honor, I have
Wait, Ms. Villegas, do you have any questions of Mr. Castillo?
Yes, yes, I
ahead.
do.
Okay.
At the first time when he was incarcerated, back then in 2006, when we did first start the child support process, and whenever we did go to court, he was not
Okay, ma'am,
present from no.
Ms. Villegas,
Yes.
I asked you if you have any questions for Mr. Castillo. I'll give you an opportunity to say something later, but
Okay.
right now, Mr. Castillo is on the witness stand, and you can have an opportunity to ask him questions. If you don't have any questions, that's fine. I'll
Okay.
give you an
Yeah, I
opportunity.
do have one.
Okay.
Why do you think that I want to just you not pay that money? Why? Why do you think it's fair for you? Also, I had to be.
Wait
I
a
had
minute,
to
wait,
provide.
Ms. Villegas. One question at a time. The question is,
Okay.
why do you think it's fair for him
For
not to
him
pay
not
the
to
money?
pay the. Yes.
All right,
Mhm.
Judge,
go
I'm
ahead.
going to object as to speculation. He can't speak to the state of her mind.
No, it's a state of his mind. Why do you think it's not fair, or it's fair that you not pay the amount, Mr. Castillo?
Well, for one, being incarcerated, I wasn't able to pay, and that pretty much sums it up. If I
All right.
wouldn't,
Any other questions, Ms. Villegas?
Yes, he did have you did have a choice on whenever you got
Judge,
incarcerated
I'm
the
going to
first
object
time.
as to argumentative.
That's sustained, ma'am. Do you have a question for him?
No, that's fine.
Okay, Miss Barker, do you have another witness?
no, I don't have any other witnesses, Your
Miss
Honor.
Stagg, do you have any witnesses?
No, Judge, thank you.
Miss Villegas, do you have any other witnesses you wish to present?
No.
All right, Miss Parker, do you have a final argument?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor, while the state does understand that Mr. Castillo was incarcerated, just like a person who is unemployed, they will put the minimum wage presumption on you during that time. And also, Mr. Castillo had an option to send in paperwork to request that his child support be modified. He did not do that. And during that time, his child still had needs and things that needed to be met that were not met and that he was responsible for. And no one made him commit those crimes, or no one made him violate his probation. He did that himself. And it's not fair that his daughter is getting punished for things that he chose to do himself. No one made him do whatever he did to get arrested, and no one made him violate his probation. He did that himself. So the state's requesting that you confirm the total amount, which is $35,157.69 as of April 30th, 2021.
Ms. Stagg?
Thank you, Judge. We understand the needs of the child. I think my client has made it clear that he understands that. And nobody volunteers to be incarcerated. He made some wrong choices. He got convictions. But we all know that people can't pay while they're incarcerated. There's no way that he can earn a living while he's locked up. To argue that he could have filed a modification, he would have had to know the law and know that that was available. And even to do that, he would have had to do that while he was incarcerated. So we're not discounting the struggles that Ms. Villegas would have had or did have, but we are asking that the court give him a credit in the amount of $210 with interest for the 99-month period that he was incarcerated. And you heard from Mr. Castillo's testimony that during the times that he was not incarcerated, he's consistently paid. He's consistently paying right now. Those payments were deducted every month via a withholding order. And I don't think that's been argued by the state or Ms. Villegas herself. So this was not a deliberate underemployment, unemployment situation. It was just simply that he was incarcerated, and we're asking for some credit based upon that incarceration.
Ms. Villegas, you have something now you wanted to say?
Yes, yes. If you go back to the paperwork, and like you said that in 2006 when it was filed, he did not pay constantly.
Judge, I'm going to object to her testifying to a document that's not in evidence.
Well, I think she just testified from her personal observation that she didn't receive the child support. So
yeah.
Overruled. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so he wasn't paying constantly at the beginning. He was not there for my daughter as he says he was whenever he was out and whenever the child support process started. So no, I don't believe that he should have that whatever he's asking for not to pay. I don't think so. Because I was the one receiving the child support payments, and I was the one taking care of her, and which something he wasn't doing. He wasn't even going around trying to see her because, he had his own life, and, everybody does have their own life, but he wasn't there for her. He was never there, and he wasn't providing like it was stated or like the court had ordered at whenever we began the process of the child support. That's all I have to say.
All right, the court is ordering that the father's retroactive child support judgment be credited for periods of incarceration, including interest for those periods, and all of the stipulations are approved. Anything further?
Nothing further.
Judge, Your Honor,
right.
Just to be clear, I want to be clear. You're saying you're giving him credit for those periods where he was incarcerated, and you want to also do interest on that as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Anything further?
No.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. Thank you.
Are we
Ms.